There are many different kinds of encryption algorithm, and there are different ways that we can categorize those algorithms. Two of the major categories are symmetric and asymmetric algorithms. You're probably already familiar with the concept of symmetry, meaning that two things are the same. Symmetric shapes have two sides that, when divided along an axis, are identical. Similarly, the structure of the human face is symmetric. In cryptography, symmetry relates to keys rather than shapes. And we have two categories of encryption algorithms. In symmetric encryption algorithms, also known as shared secret encryption algorithms, the encryption and decryption operations use the same key. If one user encrypts a message using the secret key Apple, a second user would have to decrypt the message using that same key. It's a shared secret. Asymmetric encryption algorithms, on the other hand, use different keys for encryption and decryption. They're also known as public key encryption, and they use the concept of a key pair that I'll discuss more in a moment. First, let's dive more into symmetric encryption. You can think of a shared secret key as the password to a message. Let's say that Alice and Bob wish to communicate with each other. If they both know the shared secret, they can exchange encrypted messages with each other. This works great when we only have two people involved. Alice and Bob can simply agree on an encryption key and then use it with each other. If we have three people involved, now we need to change things a little bit. Alice and Bob can still use their shared secret to communicate with each other privately, but now Charlie joins the picture and wants to be able to communicate with Alice or Bob. Each person in the group wants the ability to communicate privately with any other member of the group. Alice has a way to communicate with Bob, but then we need to add a second key that allows her to communicate privately with Charlie. And we still have a missing link. Bob and Charlie need a third key to communicate with each other. So for these three people to communicate, we need three keys. As groups get larger, we need more and more keys to facilitate their communication. There's a formula that computes the number of keys required for symmetric cryptography. Where n is the number of people who wish to communicate, multiply n by n minus 1, and then divide the result by 2. As you can see, when we grow to larger groups, symmetric cryptography starts to require an unmanageable number of keys. For example, if we have an organization with 10,000 employees, we'd need almost 50 million encryption keys. If a new person joins the organization, we need to generate 10,000 new keys for that person to be able to communicate with other employees, and then we need to distribute those 10,000 keys to every other employee in the organization. Asymmetric cryptography solves this problem for us by using the concept of key pairs. Each user gets two keys: a public key that they can freely distribute to anyone they wish to communicate with, and a private key that they keep secret. In asymmetric cryptography, anything that is encrypted with one key from the pair can be decrypted with the other key from that same pair. For normal communications, the sender of the message would encrypt it with the recipient's public key, which is publicly known. The recipient would then use his or her private key to decrypt the message. It's important to remember that in asymmetric cryptography, the keys must be from the same pair. If Bob encrypts a message for Alice, he uses Alice's public key, and then Alice uses her own private key to decrypt the message because Alice's public and private keys come from the same pair. People get this confused all the time. Asymmetric cryptography is slower than symmetric cryptography, but it solves our problem of creating keys for large organizations. We only need two keys for each user. As you can see in this table, asymmetric cryptography results in much more manageable key counts for large organizations.